Show and tell. What brief did you select for the final major project and why?
The brief I selected is my Dreams and Nightmares.
Okay, so can you describe what you created for the project?
I created a short film
Okay.
for this project.
Right, can you explain how your final piece uses the theme dreams and or nightmares?
Well, my piece uses the theme Dreams or Nightmare as... My project uses the themes Dreams or Nightmares as... I created a horror story.
Okay. So design with a purpose. Can you explain what codes and conventions you chose to include in your final practical piece?
Well, in my final practical piece, the codes and conventions I included were things like lighting, editing, shot types, cinematography.
Okay. So can you explain how you wanted your viewer to think and feel when they looked at your final film?
Well, I wanted my audience to feel intrigued, but also frightened, of course. But at the end, I wanted it to be like not a closed ending, a bit open-ended. So
like a
it gets
cliffhanger.
them, so it gets them thinking.
Okay, so what would you say your final piece of superpowers were? Like, what are the two things that make your final piece good and why?
I think things that make my final piece good would definitely be the editing, as I spent a lot of time on it.
Okay.
But also another superpower would be my shot types, as I included a multitude of them.
Okay. So, how did you use audio or visual techniques and appropriate codes and conventions to make your final piece look, sound, and feel like a professional industry example?
Well, my audio / visual / interactive techniques would be, I used a lot of different camera angles, as I've said, but also I used colour grading in my final piece, as I thought it would portray it best.
Okay. So, if we're talking about, like, what room for improvement you have, what are the two things that could be better with the film, like recording or editing or even, like, sound?
Well, improvements I could definitely make would be my storyline, as at some bits it's unclear, and as a viewer, I would not know what was going on, so I think I have to make it clear I've made it clear with my editing. I tried to make it clear with my editing of what the storyline was.
Okay. So, would you say you used all of the key codes and conventions for this project?
I would say I used all the key codes of conventions, yes.
Okay. So, if we're talking about, like, leveling up, how could you fix the weaknesses of your film on your final project?
I think my pre-planning could have been better, as going into filming, I had a good idea, but I went a bit off tangents of what I wanted to be.
Right, that's fair enough then. So, what specific, like, design conventions, camera, audio, or editing techniques could you use to improve your final piece next time?
Different, more advanced editing techniques I could use.
Okay. So, did you achieve all your goals with this project, you reckon?
Yeah, I think in some ways, yeah, but there are definitely some things I could do better.
Okay.
For next time.
So, if we're talking about higher points, what was the best part, in your opinion, of your final project?
For my final project, I think the best bits. Fuck you, bro. I think the best bits were. Oh shit.
Okay, so if we're going on higher points, what was the best part of your final piece?
The best parts of my final piece would definitely be editing, colour grading, camera angles, and I think these were the best bits as I focused more on them, the most on them.
If you could do it again, what would you change?
What would I change? I think next time I would probably change definitely storyboarding and the pre-production, as I didn't maybe do as much as I should have, and I didn't have a clear enough idea going into it.
Okay, so if you was to make these changes, you're saying it would make your final project better?
Definitely.
Okay, so what did you learn from doing this project about like research, planning, or making a media production?
Making a media production would definitely be like planning, because I didn't prepare enough for it probably.
Okay, so how will these skills be useful for you in the future?
Well, I've known how to plan properly, and yeah, I've known how to plan properly.
So do you reckon that will help with like your next course or apprenticeship or jobs?
I think, yeah, it definitely will, as I'll need to get better at planning, as it is a useful skill in the future to have.
Okay. Alright, well, that's all the questions we've got for you then.
That was my evaluation. Thank you, Max.
That's alright.